All right. Good afternoon, everybody. A second good afternoon to everyone. This is our monthly leadership call. I apologize for the late notice, but as I said before, just for the interest sake of getting everybody up to speed, I wanted to make sure that this is a group of leaders that understands Mirror Trading International. We value you as leaders, and we really felt that this was maybe something that you all needed to hear from the horse's mouth. We are very fortunate in Mirror Trading International to have excellent contractors in our space and in our corner that understand our structure, understand our directors, understands our shareholders, and also understands the dynamic of how Mirror Trading International functions on a global platform. It is a great honor for us to introduce to you Ulrich Roux and Associates. I believe that we have Ulrich Roux himself on our call today, along with one of the most brilliant minds that I've ever met, Vanessa, as well. She's a partner, if I'm not mistaken, with Ulrich Roux and Associates, and has worked very closely with our board of directors, with myself in terms of communications, and also with our shareholders, Johan and Clinton. It is a great honor for us to have a firm of the stature of Ulrich Roux and Associates even be interested in helping us to really get MTI to the next level. And I don't want to speak for them, but what we've experienced with Ulrich Roux and Associates has been absolutely amazing. The level of professionalism, but having such a fine line to actually really care about our business. And that is totally a feeling that I get when I deal with them on a weekly or a monthly basis. These guys are some of the greatest legal minds in the country, I believe. They understand Bitcoin, they understand our business, and that is something that is very rare, especially here in South Africa, where the waters are so muddled and so unclear. It is nice to have a clear voice that understands our business, has our best interests at heart, and that are really big names in what they do in this country. So I asked Ulrich this afternoon, I actually gave him a bit of a frantic call and said to him, would he be able to come and chat to you guys and tell you a little bit about what his view is on where MTI currently is at legally, what the situation is with the FSCA, and really to give you an idea of where our minds are at in terms of management and the MTI board and what we foresee happening going on forward. Because I think many times you as leaders, you might think that we're just leaving something or we're not doing anything about it. And that's not the case at all. It is a carefully thought out process. We weigh up the pros and cons, the legal implications, how it will affect our business. And I can ask you how many times Ulrich has asked me, Sherry, how's this affecting your business? He's very much aware of the fact that you've got legal aspects, but he also understands that this company doesn't behave like a normal corporate. And it's really been fantastic to work with him. So welcome, Ulrich. Welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time today. I sincerely appreciate it, and so do the rest of our leaders as well.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Sherry, and thank you for the kind words. It's just me on the call. Vanessa is busy with another matter in the High Court, but that's fine. You know, our relationship with you goes back quite some time, as you are aware, and I'm not sure if other leaders are aware, and we've always believed in the MTI strategy and in the way that you do business, and you know, we want to see not only the business, but especially all the members and all the leaders that are on this call do well. And I think that is the basis of all the negative attention that MTI is actually getting from the FSCA, is that they simply cannot fathom how a business can get such good returns for their members. And yes, I mean, we've pointed that out to them, that is why they are attempting to muzzle you, for lack of a better word, but we are fighting a good fight for you. I think, Cherie, maybe we should kick off with the questions that you posed to me, or do you want to ask the questions and we can give clarity on that?
No, that's great. In fact, I think these are questions that have been on the lips of many of our leaders, and being in touch with our leadership, I get these all the time, and I'm very, very happy that you're willing to even go there. So thank you. What is your take on MTI's current position in the regulatory framework currently as it stands in South Africa?
Well, as you pointed out previously, the waters are muddied in South Africa when it comes to trading in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. The current regulatory position of cryptocurrency still remains questionable, not only amongst laymen, but also amongst the legislature, people who draft the legislation, as well as the lawmakers and the people who need to apply the laws. There's recently been talk about regularizing the cryptocurrency industry in South Africa. And this is obviously something which we have together with MTI and with the leaders of MTI, that we've indicated to the FSCA that we would welcome tremendously, and we are open to that. As you know, we've also advised you that once these regulations are brought into effect, if that is going to happen, that we should take the necessary steps to ensure that we comply with the rules and regulations, and to get MTI on the front foot, and hopefully get the FSCA off our backs.
And so if I understand you correctly, where we stand right now is that there are no clear regulations for companies that function like MTI does.
None whatsoever. So the regulatory body in South Africa, which regulates financial institutions and institutions who invest funds and money on behalf of clients, is the FSCA. And the FSCA is a very conservative and strict regulatory body. They insist on being informed at all times about all of the personal information of people who invest with companies, as well as having inside knowledge of all investments and all returns. And obviously that is something that we are saying in the cryptocurrency world is not possible. And that is why we have sat with them, and Cherie and Johan and some of the other members have been present, where we've sat with them and we've tried to explain to them how they can go about to try and get a grasp on cryptocurrency. We are not advocating that they become a policeman and a watchdog, but so that they understand the industry better, and then they would welcome, the returns that, for instance, MTI is getting for their clients. So we still offer all of our assistance to them, and it's still an open door policy from us as well as MTI to sit around the table and to try and for the FSCA to get a grasp on cryptocurrency and trading in cryptocurrency. But as of today and at this point in time, unfortunately, it seems as if they have no clue, to be honest, and they have no clue how to regularize it as well. So it is still very much in development, and we'll have to wait and see if they do come up with proper regulations in order to regulate the industry.
Obviously, you've touched now on this issue of the FSCA, and what do you think? What do you think has been the intention? And I mean, I know that this is your personal opinion. I happen to share these sentiments with you. What do you think has the actions that they've taken against MTI? What has been the driving force, besides obviously frustration that they can't regulate us? What do you see being the driving force behind what they've done? Press releases, the search and seizure warrants?
Yes, well, from the outset, I must say that the actions taken by the FSCA have been unfortunate, to say the least. We have been, together with you, communicating with them and providing them with all of the information that they've wanted over since the beginning of the year. And we have met with them, and we have sent them extensive correspondence, and yet they sought fit to approach the court behind our backs and on an ex parte basis and get a warrant to try and obtain information, that they are, for all intents and purposes, already in possession of. So to sum it up, I think that the reason for these actions is simply that they cannot fathom how people can get such a good return on their investments, because, as I've said before, it is a conservative regulatory body. They are not open to new ideas. They are not open to people getting good returns. And for them, unfortunately, it's a question of, if it seems too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. And that is, as I've said earlier, my firm belief is that the only reason for that is that they don't understand the industry and they don't understand the MTI platform. So in short, I think, unfortunately, Cherie, that is exactly the answer, because of their lack of knowledge of cryptocurrency and their simple disbelief of the good returns that MTI is getting for their members, they have taken these steps, believing that there's going to be some, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that they're going to get their hands on. And unfortunately for them, all of the information that they took possession of by using that search warrant has already been in their possession. So, one would have to wait and see what they do with it. But yeah, I think that is the main driving force behind their actions.
Yeah, it's to create this picture that they could close MTI down and create fear in our members' minds, which some people latch onto, and then this spreads like wildfire because of the nature of the business. And I think as leaders, it's important that we know that that is exactly what the intention is to create that doubt. And when you play into that, we rob our members of the opportunity that is MTI. So again, I don't want to take too much of your time. So just quickly wanted to ask, legally, what can the FSCA do to shut down MTI's operations? I mean, we've had this conversation to death, but I think it's good for people to hear this from you.
Yeah, so at this point in time, it is impossible for the FSCA to summarily close MTI. They would have to follow proper due processes. They would have to make out a proper case in our High Court to point out alleged contraventions of acts and seek a court order to close the business. And I think that it would be very difficult for them to do that. Firstly, they approached the court on an ex parte basis, and the only reason why they did that is that they said that if they had given us notice that they wanted their hands on this information, they wanted to get their hands on the information, then we would have hidden or not disclosed it to them. But that would not be the case. If they were to try and bring any application or launch any action against MTI, they would have to give us full knowledge of that, and we would obviously have an opportunity to defend such an action or an application. And it is definitely not something that could happen overnight. Just to add on to what I said earlier, I think one of the main driving forces as well behind the FSCA's actions is they are definitely trying to destabilize the cryptocurrency market. And the way that you do that is to create doubt in the market and to start, you've never seen a regulatory body seeing so many press releases as the FSCA does. And it is purely to try and cause confusion and destabilize, members who are getting great returns, and for them to start doubting those returns. So that is also a reason behind their actions. But just to put everyone's fears to bed, they cannot simply just bring an application to close MTI down. It is impossible in terms of our law to do so.
Oh, okay. So I've been saying this for weeks. It's even I feel comforted by you, actually. Just finally, we had discussed setting aside, doing a High Court application to set aside the search and seizure warrants, and I actually think that in haste made that information available to our members. And now it's sort of a question of why haven't you done that? Why aren't you fighting them? And I think it's important for our leaders to know that Ulrich and his firm take a very unemotional approach to how we handle MTI situations. And that's exactly what we need. We need a level-headed voice of reason that says, if you win this application, what would the effects be? If you lose this application, what will the effects be? What is the probabilities? And we obviously had discussed that, and we said that we will then discuss going ahead with perhaps having the search and seizure warrants, challenging them in the High Court. And we subsequently obviously said that we don't think that that is necessarily the good route to go. Do you want to maybe just elaborate on that a little bit? I'm quite happy for us to have that conversation so our leaders know that we're not going to do the High Court application immediately to set aside those search and seizure warrants, and why?
Yes, certainly. Well, there's unfortunately a term in law called the horse has already bolted, and that is definitely the case here. but to create a bit of, or just sketch the background to this as well, we have been in contact with the FSCA, I think since February, March this year, when they first started asking questions. And we have sent them extensive correspondence. Whenever they've asked for something, we've given it to them. We were in the offices of the FSCA where Yuan performed a live trade and they saw the actual trade taking place. So, it was a question of them once again being in possession of all of this information and still not being able to figure out how MTI is getting the returns that they are for their clients. And they were convinced that, if they had to get this ex parte application and get this search warrant, that they would find something that would be absolutely damning evidence against MTI. And sorry for them, and I'm not sure if they've realized it yet, but they must have by now. All the information that they have now taken from the laptops and the cell phones and the tablets and whatever they took possession of during the search and seizure execution has already been in their possession and has been sent to them on previous occasions and has been communicated to them and showed to them on numerous occasions throughout our interactions with the FSCA. So, for us to now go to a court and say, well, this is illegal and this and that, and they've infringed upon our rights to privacy and they've infringed upon all of these other rights and all that, a court's just going to say, well, they've now got the information. If you say, you as MTI, that everything is legitimate, then why don't you let them have it and look at it? So it's not going to hurt anyone. And if they come out and it comes out that there was no evidence that they obtained through the search and seizure which was damning against MTI, then we will certainly demand a public retraction and apology for the execution of the search and seizure warrants, to set the record straight that it was a frivolous application. It was more of a fishing expedition without them having real knowledge that there was anything untoward on the systems that they took possession of. But to try and set the warrants aside now, unfortunately, is not going to benefit MTI whatsoever, because they are in possession of that information, and if they have been for quite some time, and they had downloaded it immediately the day that the search and seizure warrant was executed. But more than that, we have been open and transparent with them from the outset, and we still advocate that MTI does that. We have nothing to hide. We don't want to operate in a clandestine manner that people wonder what we do. We want them to know what we do, so that we can rather get them on board with us and get them to understand how MTI operates and how its members are doing so well, rather than to try and fight against us around every corner. So in the bigger picture, and when this happened, I spoke to Cherie immediately that Monday morning. She phoned me as the people arrived there. It was, I think, just before 8. And my immediate words to her was, it's horrible. It's shit. These people come into your house and they infringe your privacy and they take possession of your items. But there's definitely a silver lining to this, and that is that hopefully them being in possession of of all this information will open their eyes and will bring them closer to us, so that we can rather work together than them working against us all the time. And I'm still of that belief. So as Cherie pointed out earlier, there's no need to set the warrants aside. Now let them have a look at all the information and we'll take it from there. But I do guarantee you, and I do guarantee everyone else on the call, that if it comes out that there was nothing untoward found, which we believe is going to be the case, then we will definitely be getting a public retraction and apology by the FSCA for these actions.
And thanks. I think all of the leaders can see that when I'm all hysterical and I phone you, I mean, you really do have a great way of putting things into perspective, and that's the value of having Ulrich Roux & Associates back MTI and being contracted to us, is that you do have a big picture view. You understand our vision, you understand the mission of MTI, and you sort of guide us through that process. And I think what Ulrich said that's very important, and Johan is going to be able to share this with you guys as well now, is we don't want to fight the FSCA. We don't want to antagonize them. Are we irritated by what they're doing? Absolutely. Was that search and seizure warrant completely unwarranted and horrible, like Ulrich said? Yes, it is. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about a company that's going to be here for many, many years, then we need to get into a space where they get themselves sorted out. And if there are any regulations in South Africa, which I'm not sure about if that's even going to happen because it's such muddy waters, that we comply with those regulations to continue servicing our members. Do we want to carry on fighting with the FSCA, or do we want to serve our members? Our focus is our members. It's not what Brandon Topham says on some MoneyWeb interview. So Ulrich, I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if there's any closing remarks from you, and then we can move on to our CEO, Johan Steinberg.
No, thank you for having me. And as always, we are here to help and to provide clarity and information when you guys need it. And yeah, keep on fighting the good fight that you are, Sherry. Have a good weekend.
We appreciate you guys. You've spoken me off a cliff a couple times. I really do appreciate it in a big kind of way. All right. Thank you so much, Ulrich. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. All right, you guys, there you have it. You've heard it from Ulrich Roux & Associates. Go and do some research on them. Go and read up about what this firm does. When I say they're some of the best legal minds in this country, it's not because it sounds cool. They know exactly what they are talking about. And finding a firm that understands the regulatory process, that understands what MTI does, and that truly cares, you can hear Ulrich is on our side. He believes in MTI. He believes in what we stand for. And for him, it's about finding a legal framework that practically works for MTI. It might not always be practical to go to the High Court and try and set an order aside. And this is something that I've learned in this process. It is good to take advice from people that know what they're talking about. There you heard it from him. There are no regulations for companies such as MTI in South Africa. That is not my opinion. That is not anyone else's opinion. That is as it stands. And it doesn't matter what the FSCA says. It doesn't matter what Brandon Topham says. He says that we don't have any regulations, but then they put these veiled threats in that they're going to close MTI down in the hopes that a couple members will buckle, and they don't believe that we can back up a withdrawal system. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. They're going to try and destabilize us. You've heard it from Ulrich Roux himself. And that's exactly what they've done with some members. I've seen some leaders that have cried and said, oh, they're going to close MTI down. You've heard it from the horse's mouth that that is physically impossible. So stop giving members bad advice. Because what are you going to say to those members that you've told to withdraw 2 months from now, when that member's then lost out on all the growth that MTI could have given them in their Bitcoin? You're going to have to be the leader that answers for that. And I know there's leaders that have told some of our teams in the last 2 weeks to withdraw. If you've done that, you've got some answering to do, because the member that you've told to withdraw on the threats or empty threats of the FSCA, that member's lost really good Bitcoin growth in the last 2 weeks. And if you're a member that's withdrawn on the instruction of your upline, go back and ask them, hold them accountable. It's not right. It's not right that we're telling our members to withdraw because we're afraid. If you want to withdraw because you need your Bitcoin or it's of your own volition, go for it. We encourage that. All right. We're going to move on to the next issue at hand. The issue with the FSCA is done. We are not going to put out a public statement. We are busy with running a company. We are busy with servicing our members. I could not care less about doing interviews and answering Brandon Topham and all that kind of nonsense. I don't have time for that. We have 250,000 members that need us. They need me as a communications and marketing head. They need our COO. They need our CEO, our shareholders and our management team, and they need you, the leaders. So let's stop putting our focus onto something that is done, and let's work on what needs our attention right now. I'd like to bring on our CEO, Johan Steinberg. Johan has been working tirelessly, and we have experienced a number of challenges. And Johan and I were talking this morning. It's been a comedy of errors. It's just, you can't write this stuff. You can't make this stuff up. It's been very interesting. We did tell you guys about what the situation was with our broker. As Ulrich said to you today, we had a search and seizure warrant that was executed on Clinton and my home, on Johann's personal home, and also on the offices in Stellenbosch. The intention of that we've dealt with. The effect of that is that we've had to move our operations onto new electronic devices. And essentially that kicked off a security protocol where our limit on what we can draw from our brokerage account was severely decreased. In fact, Johann can chat about that in a second, because I know this is something that stressed him out in a big kind of way. And that is the security protocol that we have, so that if our account is ever compromised, nobody can just get into our broker account and withdraw all our Bitcoin. It's a security measure, and it's a good one. And security is always at the forefront of what we do as Mirror Trading International. So although it was great for security, it wasn't really good for our operations. And we've had to learn from that situation to try and make sure that that doesn't happen again in future. And we've put structures in place to make sure that doesn't happen. But Johann, do you maybe just want to elaborate a little bit on what is the average withdrawal that we have with MTI generally? And then what was our withdrawals like after the FSCA's raid? And what was our limit daily, so that people can understand the predicament that you were sitting in? And not to say, I mean, our Bitcoin is all there, our balances are verified. It's just that you couldn't get to it because of a security protocol, right?
That's right. Yeah, thank you, Cherie. Well, first of all, thanks for putting this call together. I think it's quite important, you know, to shed some light on the issues we've been having over the last 3 weeks, nearly 4 weeks. It's been a horrific time, to say the least. Firstly, you know, sort of being violated with these guys getting into our homes and you know, doing what they did. It's, you know, if you haven't been through something like that, it's actually well, for me, a couple of days later, it's a traumatic experience. It's not something that any one of us enjoyed, but we learned a lot through the process. So what happened, and you touched on it quite a bit, Cherie, is that morning when they got into our homes, you know, one of our staff members emailed the broker, explained the situation, and the fact is that the broker does not know, you know, who is in possession of our account now, the passwords and all of that. So at that time, or prior to that morning, our daily withdrawal limit at the broker was 5,000 Bitcoin. So when this whole thing played out, through that email sent to the broker, a security protocol on their end triggered, and that brought our limit down to 50 Bitcoin a day, 50. Our average withdrawal on a Monday after the binary run ranges between 500 and 800 Bitcoin. The average daily withdrawal is in excess of 500. So you could understand the predicament. You know, we, since the 26th of October up until last night, over 5,000 Bitcoin was withdrawn out of MTI, successfully paid. We're not talking now about these couple that's still stuck. So if you do the math, you know, over 5,000 was paid out. We had a limit of 50, and that started increasing through the security protocol with 10% per day. At the moment, we, if I'm not mistaken, we back at over 600 Bitcoin a day, nearly 700, somewhere there. But yeah, it caused some major delays. And, you know, between Clinton and myself, we literally put in a vast amount of Bitcoin just to be able to pay out the members during this time. And that in itself put a lot of stress on both of our families, just for, you know, the fact that we literally subsidize the business because we know we're going to get it back. It's not an issue, but, you know, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. But
I
yeah,
think what's
other than
also
that,
important to
on
say here,
the
Johan, and sorry, just to save you there, but
no, carry on.
I think people also need to know who set off that security protocol. I don't think that our leaders always understand what happened on that Monday. And Charlie Ward can come in here as well, because yes, Charles and I are related. He is my brother. We have worked together, never before. This is the first time. But Charlie will tell you that that Monday morning, they swept in on the office, Johan's house, my home, and he could not get hold of any of the major role players in MTI corporate. And you can imagine what that does for a young guy who's stepped into the shoes of COO, leading this massive team with some of the biggest names in this industry. And to make it worse, his family, his nieces, his sister is in that house. And the first person I needed to try and get hold of is, I fought like crazy to speak to Ulrich, and I let my mom know what was happening, knowing that my mom would phone Charlie and just find out if Johan's okay, because they wouldn't let us call Johan. And trying to get Charles to speak to Johan's wife to try and sort that out, it was absolute chaos for that day. And the intention was to stop MTI operations for that day. And I knew that they would be taking Johan's devices. I put such a fight up in my house that I got them out of my house at 11. I think I was screaming and yelling at the top of my voice. You guys know me. I fight like crazy. Where they left my home, and I immediately, my first thought was, if they take Johan's devices, could they have access to our Bitcoin? And I'm the one who triggered the process for the security on our broker account, which essentially means that I am actually responsible for the situation that we're sitting in. And I don't want to apologize for that, because I have been trained to make sure that we take care of our members, and that security and our members' security comes first. And that's why we triggered that process, because I didn't know. I had no choice. So it was my fault. I'm the one that made that decision for the broker to be contacted and not allow anyone access to that account until they heard from Johan. And so I do feel responsible, but I also think that what Johan is saying is absolutely true. Between him and Clinton, they have personally funded the withdrawals. Like I said, they are able to get it back out of our broker account as they've increased our limit, like Johan said. So that hasn't been an issue. And I want you guys to know that that is how dedicated Johan and Clinton are to this team. You don't always hear them talking. You don't always see them doing the bright and flashy things, and they're not doing interviews with MoneyWeb, but they're taking care of you and your teams, because at the end of the day, that's what's important to them. Now, I want to just, you can see that this is a very difficult situation for us, because as if that wasn't enough, we started picking up, while we were getting ourselves back on track and setting up new devices, and we've got new cell phones, new chat groups, we've got everything cleaned up. And in the back of your mind, you still have this feeling that everybody is watching you, and it's a terrifying situation to be in. We start picking up irregularities from our leaders. Many of you would message us and say, hey, my downline's done a deposit and we can't, it's not showing in the back office. And we as management, we never take queries lightly, ever. And when members send them to us, you can quickly see a pattern developing. And over the last 4 weeks, every single possible attack that could be launched on MTI, and I think Johan will agree with me here, has been launched. This is the worst
Absolutely.
that we could have gone through. And every time that we think we're just out of it because we're working hard and pushing as best we can, something else comes. And I want to, just before I let Johan explain what we're sitting with at the moment, and I just want everyone to relax. It's not a big issue. We're perfectly fine. I want you to know that the conversations that happen between management are not kumbaya. It's not anything by that measure. We hold each other to the highest of standards, the highest of standards. Johan had to attend an event as a CEO last night that some of you were present at. And I would phone him during the meeting and go, Johan, we need this and this and this and this and this done. And he's got his laptop out on the bonnet of his car and he's working and doing what needs to be done. At no point are we allowing anything but 100% from each other. I can tell you, Charlie Ward and I had a massive fight yesterday. And we work together, but we're also siblings. So it muddies the water a little bit. I have unbelievable respect for him. And 90% of the time, I just listen to what he tells me to do and I just keep quiet. But yesterday we had a tough talk and I said to him, listen, this and this and this needs to happen. And he then also goes, oh, yes, okay, I think that is the better thing to do. And if I'm not doing something right, he'll fight with me. If he's not getting 100% from Monica, he has zero problem picking up the phone and telling her that. So I want you to know that we are very tough on each other. We are very hard on each other because we expect nothing but excellence. And it comes back to that vision. We have an expectation and we hold ourselves to that level of what we want to try and achieve. So I called this call today because we're sitting with a situation on our hands that only came up in sort of the last 12 hours or so. And I didn't know how we were going to address this with you as leaders. And I decided that it would be best that Johan, myself, Charles, Clinton, and Monica address it with you together. Because we all take responsibility for the situation that we're in together. And basically what we're sitting with is we did have a very big hacking attempt from one group of people. It looks like it's a group of people in the last month, disabling reporting functions, getting into the back office and trying to change information, making it impossible for us to try and manage the membership and manage our processes. They can't get into our Bitcoin, so Bitcoin's 100% safe, but they did get into our reporting functions. And that's why deposits weren't allocated, deleting a whole bunch of lists of deposits that were sent to MTI. You can imagine how that could send us into a tailspin. So we sorted that out. Then there was the issue of withdrawals that were delayed because of the broker security protocol. But now what we've got is some of our reporting functions for withdrawals have been limited, have been deleted. So essentially, when Johan pulls a report, him and his technical and programming team pull a report to do a withdrawal, not all of the withdrawals are on that report. So on our side, it shows all our members are paid perfectly fine. Okay, guys, we could actually maybe even have dinner with our family tonight. And then at 7 o'clock, I get a message and it's Marina's Bell sending me 10 withdrawals that haven't been done since Sunday. And then the immediate response is, I phone Johan and I go, what? How? And he's going, Sherry, that's not possible. We've done all the withdrawals. And I'm saying, no, quite clearly we haven't. And I'm fighting with Johan and I'm fighting with Clinton because you guys are giving me the information and you're giving it to Monica, and Monica and I are seeing, but wait, something's not right here. We send it to Johan and I'll let him carry on from here after he's had some of his monster. On what he has found on, appetizer. Okay, that's good. On what he has found, the issue to be with why we have so many withdrawals pending from Sunday.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. So, yeah, I'm not at home at the moment. I'm in lovely Stellenbosch, attended a couple of functions over the last week. But nonetheless, it was a very stressful time. You know, we, you know, as a management team, you know, I give out the report, right? Everybody, we through this mess, everybody got paid, all the withdrawals are done for the day. And then, as Sherry says, you know, 2 or 3 or 10 hours later, there's a whole list of usernames coming through which didn't get a payment for the day. Now, through over the last 3-4 weeks, all of the, let me start there, all of the access to our servers is now completely secured. Over the last week, we spent well, close to R1 million on additional security. So everything's in place. We haven't had any issues or breaches for well over a week now. But prior to that, the previous 2 weeks, it was a constant battle. You guys might have noticed that, you know, on random times during the day, the website goes into maintenance mode because literally something happened. Nothing major, but you know, it disrupts. And what I could, the conclusion I drew out of this is that this whole hacking attempt, and there was parts or times where they actually did get into our system for a very brief moment, and then we managed to lock that loophole up, and so to speak. Well, basically over the last 2 weeks, what happened was so people got in, and what they did was the intention was never to steal anything. It was to cause confusion and disruption. So what they've done, what we only picked up now, well, a day or two ago, is that 2 weeks ago, certain links, relations in our database were compromised. So the member on your end, you do a withdrawal, you see it's pending, but that instruction, that withdrawal does not show on our side, on the admin side. We've paid this morning 2,500 members, but that most probably is not everything that is due. I'm not sure if it's 100 or 1,000 withdrawals that's not appearing on our list. So yesterday I gave the instruction to the Indian developer team that I work closely with. They're part of the back office development. Excuse me, and they started looking into the problem, and that's where we found this issue where the reporting stuff is not coming through. So they are in the process of fixing it, literally comparing the database against backups that we have, and in a way, you know, they knowledgeable guys, they know how to fix it, but unfortunately it takes a bit of time. So yeah, all I can say, guys, is we're on top of it. Myself and the rest of the team, Cherie, Clinton, Monica, Charles, Romano, Yanni, you know, everybody involved in our teams have literally for the last 3 weeks, I don't think we slept. If we slept 2 or 3 hours a night, that was a very good night's sleep. You know, it's been hectic. But from my side, I just want to say, well, firstly, thank you to the team for your dedication. And then I ask the leaders as well. We are going through tough times. Bear with us, everybody will be paid. It might be a day or 2 days later. We're trying to fix that as quickly as humanly possible. But if there is a delay, Cherie will take you through the process. Just report it, and we can fix that individual account very quickly. But getting through the whole database is a bit of a nightmare. To give you an idea, our database as it stands now, keeping the member profiles, the withdrawal history, deposit history, the whole structure of the binary and all of that, at the moment is 85 million records. So you can just imagine, even programmatically working through that, comparing it to backups and things to sort out this issue, it is a bit of a timely process. So yeah, basically, just trust us. We will get through this, but unfortunately, it might take a bit of time.
Johan, I want to just say that I think in this time, you know, one of the things that that's been out in the media is that we are not equipped to run a company like Mirror Trading International. And we've discussed this numerous times, and it's one of the allegations that were thrown out by the FSCA as well. And we had this discussion at board level and at management level too. where we were saying, you know, we need to take a good look at ourselves and say, can we do this? Because we understand the weight and the responsibility on our shoulders. At the end of the day, it's about servicing our members, and we can never forget that. It's not about Johan, it's not about me, it's not about Monica, it's not about Charlie or Clinton or Vince or Romano. It's not about any of those people. It's about our members. And what we're doing it as a company, and as what I'm hearing Johan say, is that we are not going to let our team down, but it's going to take some time. We have been playing catch up, and we have been working ourselves to death. And please don't believe things you see on social media. We keep up appearances. We do what needs to be done to look good. I mean, I haven't brushed my hair today. But at the end of the day, this is taking every single moment of our day. And I find it upsetting when members go on a wild goose chase, when you listen to what some of our leaders, some of our ex-leaders are saying. I mean, we were talking about it this morning. There are one or two people that used to be on fire for Mirror Trading International, and now they're recruiting people into their new network, and they are using this whole FSCA drama to create instability, and they've moved their allegiances from Mirror Trading International to other companies in the industry. And that is your right. It is your right to move to a different company. And I'll tell you what Johan said to me this afternoon, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. Today is a chance for you as a leader to decide where you stand. And if it means that you're going to help us, we are not going anywhere. I think you can see Johan is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So sorry for everybody that doesn't like me. Life's tough. Clinton is certainly not going anywhere. And nor is Charlie, nor is Monica. But if you want to go as a leader because it's just too much for you, then please feel free to do that. We always say, oh, it's so arrogant when you tell people, please withdraw. And you can see Johan's face. We have zero problem, zero, if every single leader withdraws from MTI. Yes, our feelings will be hurt, and we've made great friends, and we've made great friendships. But this is not about forcing people to stay with the company. It's not always going to be easy. And we do apologize for the situation we're in. You can see that it's not our fault. Is it convenient that this all happened after the search and seizure with the FSCA? Absolutely it is. But we will not give up. If you want to give up, please feel free to do that. But there will from now on be no complaining, because we are doing everything we can. Members that are going to be harassing or attacking or accusing our support staff members, our management members, those members will be suspended. They will be given their Bitcoin, and they can move on to what they think is greener pastures. We want a membership that sees MTI's heart, that sees our intention, and that is willing to work with us, because at the end of the day, the service doesn't cost our members anything, but decency doesn't cost anything either. We are going through one or two challenges. We're working through them. We're giving it our best. And at this point, I'd like to just bring on Charlie Ward. I don't want to take too much more of your time. Charlie is our COO. Charlie comes from a corporate background. And this is where him and I butt heads quite often, because Charlie likes things to go the right way. For him, it's a very black or white personality thing, you know. There is a procedure to follow, and that procedure needs to be followed. And we need people like that in this organization that thinks of everything. But Charlie has done exceptionally well with guiding us through what, I hate the word crisis, but he's guided us through the hurdles that we've had in the last couple of weeks, and he's been the voice of calm. And I just want him to give you a little bit of an update on, with the current withdrawal situation that we're sitting with, where we're at. We have no idea how many withdrawals have been affected. So in the interim, while our developer team is sorting out the problem, we want to create a structure whereby we can start escalating things manually until our team has found the solution that will then create a solution for those people that have been affected. So Charlie, do you want to maybe just reiterate a little bit about what you have put in place with support? And then we can maybe get that process underway while Johan is working with our development team to solve the greater issue.
Thanks,
and
Sherry.
Welcome, now that we're talking to each other again.
Thanks, Sherry, and just want to thank everyone for making the time to be here this afternoon. I think this call was long overdue. I'd just like to reiterate that hearing it from Ulrich, even though I've heard everything that he said numerous times, but hearing it from him, it just reiterates that MTI is on the right path. We're associating with the right people. So I think, I hope everyone took from that brief discussion with Ulrich, and it got to address some insecurities that we all might have to some extent. But hearing from someone that's not emotionally involved in the situation always just puts things in perspective for me.
Yes.
So regarding the corporate structure, you know, if we go back to August, a discussion that we had and something that I was quite vocal about is that the biggest fear that I have in the structures that we put in place is that our growth outgrows those structures. And can I confidently say we were prepared from a structural point of view to deal with everything that we've had to over the last 3 weeks? I can't say that because we wouldn't be having this call if we did. So we need to reevaluate. Even me, myself, it's been an extremely stressful week. I've had to take a few steps back and understand very well that as much as we try to apply a corporate structure to MTI, the MLM element of it is so strong. And if we don't leverage off that, we're kind of chasing our own tails. So in support was more than capable to deal with general queries and tickets being raised. We were making headway. But with the amalgamation of the challenges that we were dealing with, support definitely got overwhelmed. And we tried to do a catch up on it. We looked at different avenues to try to pursue getting more immediate and efficient on support side. And we weren't effective in that regard. So this week, with the help of the leaders, we've managed to increase our capacity from support from having roughly 18 support members to over 47. Those members are currently focusing on the most immediate queries that we're having, which was currently 2 FAs and email changes. And we're also looking at implementing a live system. The reason for that is we also need to acknowledge that instant gratification of being able to speak to someone when you have a query that serves a purpose. Whereas we find that doing it just through email correspondence, there's a delay from the member, etc., and it's just not effective enough. So we are busy putting that and we are testing that, and we will only roll that out when we're 100% confident. But in the meantime, I can assure everyone that the guys in support are working around the clock. Cherie, Monica, Vince, they have literally dropped everything and making themselves available as a support element. And I can my testament to that is just that, guys, I can't reiterate it enough that we as a corporate structure, as a CEO, as a COO, as a shareholders, have done everything in our capacity to not look at ourselves, but just that continuously reevaluate, ensure that we looking after our members at first. So on a personal note, I have to amend our shareholders. They stepped up and they didn't make it public. They didn't have to make it public. But those that knew what they've done for this company, I will follow them into the gates of hell, because there's very few people that would do that. So from a corporate point of view, we are reevaluating. We are looking at our weaknesses. We do have a lot of strengths, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. And those have been exposed. And I can assure you right now, my personality type is I'm not going to get caught with my pants down again. So we're doing everything to ensure that when we deal with these challenges again, because they will happen, that we're equipped enough to deal with them immediately and effectively.
That also gives me a lot of courage, and obviously gives me a lot of faith. So with the current situation that we're in, what Charlie has arranged with our head of support is that if you have any withdrawal that is currently pending, okay, and we're going to need you guys to help us with this. If you have team members that have withdrawals that are pending, please do not escalate them to me or Monica or to Vince or through a leadership structure. We have increased our support capacity, and we have a dedicated team that will deal with these withdrawals. So they need to send an email to support@mymticlub.com. In the subject line, just put in their withdrawal or pending withdrawal. That's perfectly fine. And those tickets will be handled first to make sure that we sort out this withdrawal issue. We still have the dedicated team on 2FAs and email changes, so that's perfectly fine. But what we would like to do is try and get as many of those withdrawals paid in the next 3 days as we possibly can. So these are pending withdrawals only, you guys, withdrawals that are late, if that's okay with everyone. Any withdrawal over 48 hours, send those to us so that we can try and get those paid. I spoke to Johan this afternoon and I said to him, is there any way that we can try and process withdrawals over the weekend? Now, we don't normally do that, but he's going to try and make a plan to get that done with our brokers so that they can release some Bitcoin to us over the weekend to do withdrawals. And our game plan is then to have 2 solutions for this problem. The problem is there are people waiting for withdrawals that are overdue, and we've got 2 solutions. The first one is our programming team is working on it. That, however, might take some time. So in the interim, we have put in a physical process where people can put in their escalations, and it seems to be a problem from Sunday onwards, you guys, just so everybody knows. It seems that the withdrawals are from Sunday onwards that are have been left out. So you can send an email to support@mymticlub.com, and basically all we need, if I'm not mistaken, and Johan and Charlie can just confirm this for me, is we need the username. That's all we need, because the transaction's there, it's just not pulling through to our records. So Johan, Charlie, is that correct? Support only needs the username. Oh, Yanni, I see Yanni's on the call.
The username or user ID.
Okay, fantastic. All right, there you have it, Yanni. He's actually helping us with that process as well. Been an absolute champion in the support office. Thank you so much, working closely with our head of support, Romano. So you can just put in the username. You as a leader, even if you want to send an email, please don't send duplicates. That is something that slows us down tremendously. So if you can just get the member to do the email, or you collate all of the emails together and send all the usernames and IDs of withdrawals that are pending through. We've got a dedicated team that is populating a structure for Johan to do those payments in batches. He's going to make himself available for the next 3 days, every hour on the hour, to take the fresh new withdrawals that we've received from team leaders and members via the support structure and to make those payments. But it's really just not functional when we escalate it through myself and Monica, because that incapacitates the 2 of us. And then what needs to be done on the corporate structure side and communication side then lags behind. Let's let support do what they're good at. We've increased the capacity. Monica and I have other pressing issues that need to get to. I need to give you guys your newsletter. So if we can use the escalation process through the email, support@mymticlub.com, they will escalate those to Johan every hour on the hour. And those, we're anticipating that we can get that done over the weekend. Charles, I see you've unmuted yourself. Was there something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, Sherry, I just want to reiterate that we have drawn up a macro. So as support is working through the tickets, to give you guys an idea, we've got 1,200 tickets to work through. And it's an alarming amount of tickets to go through, but we're finding that there's a lot of duplication on the tickets, and it's extremely time consuming. So we've drawn up a macro that once your ticket has been escalated and the macro has been applied, please just have confidence that it's been addressed and it will be paid. But continuously sending tickets through, we've had to put a support member on just to sift through all the duplications, where some members are sending 7 to 8 emails. So from a support point of view, we don't have a fair gauge of where we at, what progress we're making, just due to the duplication. So if they can just reiterate that, you will be sent a macro. When you've received that macro, it means that that support member is confident enough, it's been added to the list, and your payment will follow.
All right. So, okay, you guys, thank you very much for that, Charles. That was it. And I didn't know how we were going to have this discussion with you as leaders. I didn't know how I was going to come and sit in front of you again today and say, we thought this problem was solved. It's not solved. And I think just in closing, you know, from Johan, and I want Clinton to do this as well. I want to apologize. I want to apologize that things have not run the way they should. I've also had my hands tied in terms of communications, and that I can't put everything out in the public domain because things get misconstrued and twisted, and that just makes the whole process so much harder. Our deposit link that was used to allocate deposits in the back office for people that didn't have their deposits allocated was infested in 2 minutes from it going public. So at the end of the day, communications is really tough, and I want to keep those lines open, but it's not always 100% possible. I am doing my absolute best, but I want to say I'm very sorry that you as leaders have taken a bit of flack for MTI. And I want you to know that I understand that, because I go through that every day, and we appreciate you. We wouldn't want to do this business without any of you. And we've all fostered such close relationships that those relationships are important to us, and we will not stop until we have got it 100% right. Clinton also just wanted to say something in closing. I think he's also been through a bit of a rough patch, and then I'll ask Johan just for some closing words, and we can call it a day then.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, look, first of all, I just want to thank not just our leaders, but also obviously Johan, Charles, Monica, and anyone else I haven't mentioned. You know, I've always believed that obstacles come to instruct, not obstruct. So I think we've all grown as a team and a management as a whole. And, you know, I'd rather it happen now than when we're on 10 million members. You know, and as Johan said, you know, every time something like this happens, it just makes us bigger and stronger and more equipped to handle things like this in the future. So thanks, guys.
Still a man of few words. He's been so stressed the last couple of weeks, but I've been so wildly proud of him and Johan. And I'll tell you something, when they had to fund the withdrawals for the first couple of weeks, they did not hesitate once. Not once, because this team is their heart, and we appreciate that, Johan. We appreciate you, Clinton. Mostly, we appreciate you. We cannot run this business without you. So, Johan, some closing words from you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to share something with you guys. You know, I'm down in Stellenbosch, attended 1 year in function, a golf day and a birthday, everything MTI related. And over the last 3 or 4 days, the amount of gratitude and thanks and, you know, congratulations, you name it, that I received, you know, not necessarily personally, but for us at MTI and the MTI team, it's phenomenal. I heard stories of people literally, their lives got changed. And, you know, I believe that, you know, we are fighting a big battle here, in flesh and blood, but also in spirit. And what gives me a lot of comfort is the fact that, you know, besides everything that happened, our trades are still running. I think, if memory serves me right, we paid 48 or 45,000 people binary run last week. That is everything that we are doing. We are serving the public, we are serving our fellow man, we are creating opportunities, and call it the evil spirits want to take that away, all the good that we are doing. And basically, I believe that if we just continue doing what we're doing, the withdrawal issues, it seems like a massive balls up and a major crisis and issue. But within a couple of days or a week, everything will be back to normal. And then we can continue doing the good that we are doing. So to every leader on the call, it's part of your doing in changing lives, and the testimonials that I've received over the last 3 days. I just want to say a big thank you to you. This group alone has touched thousands and thousands of lives in South Africa and abroad. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Johan. All right, so we're going to end off with this, is that we want to do this with you. We want to build this company with you as leaders. But if you feel that this challenge is just too big for you, and if you feel it's just too much for you to bear, then we don't want to force anyone to be with us. We don't want to force anyone to work with us. And we had this conversation at management level as well. It's not always going to be easy, but I can guarantee you that this team, Johan, Clinton, all the way down to the very last person at management and at corporate, has one intention, and that's to serve our members to the best of our and MTI's abilities. And what the FSCA says, what the haters and their scammy little Facebook pages and Telegram groups say are completely irrelevant, because we continue to grow our members' Bitcoin, and we will not stop to do that. If you're not happy with MTI, you're more than welcome to withdraw. And I've said this from day one. If we are not afraid of all of our members withdrawing, that is not our fear. Our fear is that we don't serve our current members properly. That is our fear. We want to serve our current members. We're not worried about the ones that withdraw. That's their right. And we actually encourage them to do that if they're not comfortable with MTI. So we want to thank you all as leaders. We hope that this call gave you some clarity, that it gave you some insight as to where our hearts are at. I think that in the absence of this conversation, people's imaginations run away with them, and that needs to stop. Grow some backbone, know what you know about MTI, and start standing up for this company. Stand up for Johan. This is the kind of man that you can back, and you can do that with surety, because we all back him. And like Charlie said, we will follow him wherever he goes, because we know where his heart is at, we know what he's capable of, and we know what his vision is, and we've bought into that vision. And that will not change. No amount of hate mail, no amount of pressure from the FSCA, no amount of ambiguity from regulators, none of that is going to change where we are going. We will not be pushed around. We will not stop servicing our members. So we're excited about the future. We know that the next couple of days are going to be challenging, and we're counting on you to help us through this process. And we also in advance want to just thank you for everything. Thank you for being on this call today. I will make the recording available just to check for Johan and Ulrich. And if they're happy with that, then we will post this onto our MTI YouTube channel, or we will send a link out onto private groups that you can share. So have a fantastic evening. We've got our 7 o'clock corporate Zoom call with Scott Smith tonight. If you wanted to hear a little bit of American excitement about MTI, you can come and join him. And have a look at the new success guide, you guys. It's really something for us to try and help the very last member to grow his organization, to understand the company, and to really explain it well to those around them. We really appreciate you all. Thank you so much for the membership, the board of directors that was on this call today, and also for our shareholders, and of course our COO, Charlie Ward. I appreciate you all immensely, and there's no one else that I would rather be building this company with than the bunch of you. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.